Sports published that the college football playoff was going to expand, and this is something that's been really imminent since the beginning of the playoff. And the article talks about how a 12-team playoff is becoming the most popular option, and I'll link the actual article in the description of the video so you can go check that out. There's a lot of good details in there of why they're going to 12 instead of just 8. There were some decisions that haven't been made, but essentially have, where the committee that's been talking about it essentially is worried that an 18 playoff will exclude teams that are worthy to play in it. So they're talking about it expanding it to 12, and obviously that has sparked a lot of reactions, good and bad. There's people who want to stay at 4, and while I understand their points, it's just not the best option for college football. Now, I get if you're trying to go for this sense of elite teams and the best team winning, I kind of understand that, but at the same time, like, those same teams should be able to win in an expanded playoff like this. I don't really care what you say. You can make excuses like Alabama last year. It doesn't matter if it was 4, 8, 12, 16, they would have won it all. There wasn't a team that was going to stop them. So it's better for college football. There's more money involved, so you knew that was going to be a big part of it. They're going to expand because money runs everything, and it's just going to happen. Now, it's not going to happen right away, but it's going to happen in the future, and it's not a surprise. And for those who are hesitant to the change, I just challenge you to think about all the fun that you can have. Really, that's all it's all about, is having fun, because we have 130 teams in college football, and we are excited about all the variety of games and all the excitement that those games bring. But then all of a sudden in the postseason, we just say, nope, we're going to only take 4 of those teams. So expansion is better for college football, and we're going to kind of go over the last year and this year to look at like what could have been and what could be for this year. Now, again, these are not happening. This obviously last year can't happen. This year it's not going to happen, but there are things that are exciting about the potential playoffs that could be and the matchups that we'll see. It also gets rid of some bowl games that don't really mean anything, and it gives a lot of teams a better chance to compete for a championship, and really keeps those fan bases more invested. So if you look at the last rankings from (2020), you see Alabama at the top, then Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame. That was your playoff. But if you look at the next few teams, you're looking at Texas A&M, who felt like they got snubbed. Oklahoma was one of the hottest teams in college football heading into the end of the season. And then Florida, who was a good team in their own right. I mean, people forget that they were hanging with Alabama in the SEC championship. So I don't know what people are all worried about there. Then you look at the other teams that are behind them, and you're starting to see that there's excitement for a playoff to happen. So if you look at the matchup for last year, you're looking at, this would be part of the bracket. You have Alabama at the top, obviously, and then we get Georgia and Cincinnati, which we already know is a good matchup. We saw what happened. Georgia needed a field goal to put away the Bearcats. So don't tell me that Cincinnati can't compete, because we saw that they could. And you throw that into a more meaningful game, and not just the Peach Bowl, you put it into a playoff game, and good things are going to happen. On the bottom, Ohio State gets the winner of Texas A&M and Coastal Carolina. You're telling me that you wouldn't watch a Texas A&M team that got snubbed last year with Kellen Mond running the show against Coastal Carolina with that unique offense that Jamie Chadwell runs with Grayson McCall? I don't believe you if you don't say that you wouldn't watch that. And then if you go to the bottom of the bracket, the first matchup that we're going to get is another exciting one that already happened, and that's Florida and Oklahoma. Now, it was a blowout, yes, but keep in mind that Florida didn't have all of their top guys. Now, I don't like using that as an excuse, but it's a good reason. And had this been this is a perfect example. Had this been a playoff game, those guys would have played. And you're telling me that those two can't beat a team like Notre Dame? They can, and both of them. Florida, like I said, just competed with Alabama. Oklahoma was one of the hottest teams in the country last year. Towards the end of the season, they both could beat Notre Dame. That's definitely possible. Then on the bottom, Iowa State, again, a team that struggled early and then kind of came on strong late. Gave Oklahoma really a run and ultimately couldn't get it done, but you're telling me you wouldn't watch Iowa State in the playoff. And then Indiana, one of those teams that did they really deserve to be in? That'd be one of those debates that we'd have. They had the exciting win over Penn State to start the season, and they wouldn't have had their quarterback. Michael Penix got hurt towards the end of the year, and he was out for the rest of the season, so I don't know how they would have fared at this point, but they had a stout defense, so you just really never know. And then they'd play Clemson. Do they have a shot at beating Clemson? I like Iowa State's chances a little bit better just because they'd have their quarterback in Brock Purdy. But again, we're not going to see it. It's kind of a what if. And then if you look at this year, now the teams are going to be variant depending on how you feel about where teams are going to be ranked. But I wanted to look at what that meant for this year if we had a 12-team playoff this year. So the top of the bracket is going to feature, there's going to be a lot of familiar faces, and Clemson obviously sits number one. I think they're the best team in the country right now. We'll see obviously more. And again, if you're doing a preseason poll and you're using that in your week one rankings after those games, you need to stop doing that. Preseason polls are great. They're fun for discussion. They also are a reason why a lot of people dislike how polls are run. So Clemson gets the winner of Miami and Texas A&M, and I know there's people that are going to say we don't want to see a rematch, but that's assuming that Miami wins. And then Texas A&M could be a lot better than ninth. I just put this together based on my rankings of where I think these teams sit right now. Texas A&M right now needs a quarterback. They have all the other pieces on offense that they really need. Obviously, 4 linemen up front are needed, but they have Kenyon Green, who's going to get everybody in shape, in line. It's just a matter of the quarterback, and then the defense is going to be good. And then Miami, obviously, it depends on Derek King's health. Now, do they beat Alabama in the beginning of the season? I'm not sure, but this is a team that could be dangerous. They might be even higher than 8th towards the end of the year, but we will see. And then on the bottom, Ohio State's still 4th, so that hasn't changed. They get the winner of Georgia and Liberty. You're telling me you wouldn't watch JT Daniels against Malik Willis? That's the thing. I don't understand how you don't look at this matchup and don't think of the possibilities for an exciting game. So I don't understand why the hesitation, because if one of those teams won it because they got hot, I'm okay with that. And maybe that's just me, but I'm just okay with something like that happening. And then on the bottom, another good group of teams that we get to see here, and just more matchups that I would honestly love to watch. So number 2, Alabama. If Bryce Young puts it all together, this is another good team. They obviously need a new running back with Najee Harris gone, and then a top receiver with Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle gone. John Mechie could be that guy. But they would get the winner of North Carolina and Cincinnati. That passing attack of North Carolina against Cincinnati secondary would be one of the most thrilling things to watch in the playoff. And it's again, another matchup that I'm signing up for. And all these people who want to stay at 4, they're going to watch anyways, so you might as well just embrace it. And then Iowa State stays at 6, down below, and they play Oregon. They played in the bowl game last year. This obviously would be very different if they play in the playoff this year. But another matchup that Iowa State returns nearly everyone. Oregon is another team that could be very exciting to watch. You can throw USC in this if they win. Washington there's a lot of options there. And then they'd play Oklahoma, who a lot of people think have the chance to be one of the best teams in all of college football, maybe even national champions. So I don't even care in the end if it's the top 4 teams that are in the semifinals and if it's the top 2 or 3 teams that make it to the championship. I just want to see something different. And to me, this potential of matchups and these potential games bring me more joy than watching the same teams over and over and over again. Because North Carolina getting in the playoff would be great. Cincinnati getting in would be great. Liberty getting in would be phenomenal. There's just so many teams that I would rather watch than the same 4 teams over and over again. And we're already seeing that bowl games are getting less and less meaningful. So why not make the postseason more meaningful? If you have to revamp the regular season, then go ahead and do that. I don't really care for conference championship games. You could get rid of those. That gives us you an extra week. You're already playing the same amount of games. And really, if you win the regular season conference championship, to me, that means more.